So welcome to today's free Agile meetup, the Agile International Coaching Meetup. Every Wednesday, we have a different presenter, and it's something we do for the community, and we love what we do, right? So I sent you a link in the chat, right? So you are welcome to, whenever you have the opportunity, to go to that link. I'm gonna put it again, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So this is our landing page. This is where we show a little bit of our story, how we came about global, let's say that, right? We did, well, basically a while back ago, when the COVID started, we went global, everyone. I mean, a bunch of people from more than 100 countries joined us in our meetups, and we started learning together about Agile. So if you want to check out our, let's say, journey, we have a video here, which is very cool. So yep, go ahead and check us out. We also have very nice shirts, and I have one today, so that's really nice. But the one I have today is from last year's Agile International Coaching. Oh no, there you go. Agile International Coaching. That's from our another event we have, which is an annual event. But our shirts are very, very awesome. We have Agile Coaches shirt. We have Keep Calm and Stay Agile, because that was a thing a while back ago. Scrum Master, being agile, amp up your agile mindset, and even we have a free SMB shirt. Why not, right? And we have a bunch of stuff. We even have hoodies if you want to know more, because we have a bunch of designs. You can go ahead and check the merch area. One that I like is a saying by one of our coaches. The first one is "Too blessed to be stressed." I love this one. It's really cool. And just going around with that saying is actually very nice. So
we have the Scrum values too. That's a good one.
The Scrum values, absolutely. Yes, we do have the Scrum values. And we already have it as, I believe, in a primary elements of an Agile Scrum team like this. It's really nice. So check it out. And maybe that's a nice gift for your team. All right. Regina talked about our free events or our community events that we have weekly. This is one of them on Wednesday, but we also have one on Saturdays, right? So that's called the Agile International Coaching Clinic. So what do? We get together at 8:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. We gather around with these amazing coaches that you see here, right? And we organize the conversation depending on the Agile maturity level. Like if you're a beginner, you're an intermediate Agile, there we go, like learner, or if you're an advanced, like 5-year plus, whatever. And the conversation is really cool. We use the lean coffee technique. Basically, we gather around, we share what we want to discuss, and we learn. We have like the summary of our takeaways, and we learn about it. And then at the end, we have a sharing is caring time. We see, oh, what did the beginners do? Or what did the intermediates do? It's really cool, okay? And you meet awesome people that are there to learn as well. So that's us. That's our community events. We do have the Agile International Conference that we do it every year in March. So if you're interested, there's more information about to come. So just stay tuned on that. And but today is a very special day. Oh, I forgot to tell you something important, is that we don't only offer free events and community events. We also offer certifications, and we have one coming up, the Certified Agile Leadership Essential, and the teacher is here, Agile Coach Rick Brigada. He is the one that teaches this class, and if you're learning about leadership, if you're interested in taking more of a leadership role or maybe approach to situations in your workspace, this is the very first course for you, okay? This is the essential toolkit, okay? And the greatest thing about this course is that it's taught by an Agile coach with more than 20 years of experience. So you're basically learning from the secret sauce from Rick Brigada, which is not to miss, all right? So the date is April 13th, is literally tomorrow. So if you're interested, let us know, okay? I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it, okay? So if you're interested in that, I'm gonna go ahead and send you the link here. There we go. And going to our meetups. We have the exciting news of having, actually of having Joseph Milton with us. He was our AAC 2023 speakers. He was one of our speakers in our conference, and he's going to have a conversation with us about cultivating resiliency in the age of Industry 4.0. This is more on the personal agility area. So I'm excited, Joe. I'm going to hand it over to you. The floor is yours, sir. And let me go ahead and share some slides. There you go.
Thank you, Nelu. Thanks, everyone. Much appreciated to be back. And yeah, so a lot of this was some of the stuff that was covered at the conference and just continuing to try to work with it and learn from it. So looking forward to feedback and hearing from the group. And for those that joined early, we are learning to be resilient as my computer is not working and I'm on my phone. So hopefully you can hear me, and thank you, Nelu, for helping me get through this. So always a pleasure to come talk to this group. Much appreciated. All right, so we wanted to start by getting everybody involved and just making sure that this is interactive, right? So this, I will do some talking, but hopefully the large majority will be together co-creating. So first thing is we wanted to get an understanding of who's here. And there's there's apps and questions there. So we wanted to start. So if you could go ahead and through these, I can barely read it on my phone. Hopefully you're on your computer and can read it. But the question we wanted to get an answer for, it's going to take you to a link, and it's going to say, what comes to mind when you see or hear the term personal resilience? So we'll take 30 seconds. If you could just go through that link and just type in what comes to mind when you hear that term.
Absolutely. So the link is the one that I sent on the chat. And if you're interested in just doing it by phone, you can also text T Culture to 22333, and you can join and answer the question.
Awesome. Technology, isn't it awesome?
It is pretty awesome. So let me go ahead and there we go. Great.
It is such a cool tool to be able to see it all come in real time.
Face obstacles, overcoming what change?
Challenge, yeah, change. Strong mental grit. Love it.
It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Adversity. Well, first off, thank you for participating. I know everybody's had a long day and probably, been working and doing this all day. So to give your time and energy to this is much appreciated. And yeah, I love all the stuff that I'm seeing there. So
pretty cool.
Great. All right. So let's jump in then to, oh, we're still going.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a good group. I feel it. All right. We're gonna have lots of participation. Thank you. All right, so if we go to the next slide. So I've already done, my name's Joe Milton. I'm currently a business and technology consultant with SEI here in Miami. This is my beautiful wife, Jacqueline, my daughter, Josie. Been in South Florida for about 12 years. My career has many different facets to it. So I've been in, the regular project management like we were talking about, PMP. I've done working with teams through their agile transformations, also worked in strategic planning and sales and finance. The kind of three things, though, that kind of pull it all together for me that I'm passionate about are strategic planning, agile transformation, leadership, and then theology. And so those 3 or 4 things kind of pull together from my perspective, which will lead into some of the things we're going to talk about today. Next slide, please. All right, so main concept that I hope we walk away with today is that I do believe personal resilience helps us turn disruption into opportunity. And so there's going to be a lot to unpack through the presentation today and through co-creating with this group. But I think what we're going to see is a lot more disruption. And I think this is a strategic advantage that we can have personally and inside of our organizations if we build this personal resiliency, which everybody already hit it on the nose in the beginning there on kind of what we're going to talk about. But we'll break it up into kind of three sections here. First, we'll talk about what is resiliency, what it means, why it matters, and then how to cultivate it. So if we want to go into what is resiliency. All right, so when I first started thinking about, all right, so how do I help myself think through this and try to facilitate with the group, I wanted to think of an example of what is not resilient. And unfortunately, I had a pretty good one myself in my background. So we're going to do one click here. And if you see here, this is my most outstanding student award from 6th grade. Looks pretty good, right? Okay, go ahead, another click. Also graduated with honors and even graduated early. So I graduated with a year of college done, which all sounds really good, right? Okay, one more click. Unfortunately, what I learned, what was underneath that though, was actually a need for validation and a fixed mindset. And so the fun part is when I get to college, had a pop quiz, failed it, didn't know how to handle that, dropped a class, lost my scholarship, and crammed the next 3 years of school into 8. And so, as my wife likes to remind me, I'm still paying for that great decision. So I still had great grades, but because I didn't take enough credit, I lost my scholarship. And so to me, when I was thinking about what wasn't resilient, well, that was a good example of what it's not. I didn't know how to take failure, how to fix mindset, and wasn't able to actually push myself to learn from failure. All right, so next slide. So let's talk a little about what it does look like. So go ahead and hopefully the video will play for us here. Little context before we start the video. So this is my daughter, Josie. She had been practicing for, by this time, probably 6 months, 8 months, multiple times per week. And this was her first gymnastics meet in front of a crowd. So if you can hit play on the video. Oh.
Give me one second. Let me check what's going on.
Joe, we presume you have her consent to show this video, right?
Absolutely. Funny enough, we did have to have that conversation. So, all right, I guess we can walk through the video.
Oh,
so it's a.
Give me a second. I can I can make it happen. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, it should be embedded.
There we go. I can do this. Let me know if you can hear the sound. Can you hear it? Oh, we're getting there.
Yes, I can hear it too. Okay, thank you. Did anybody see it? Anybody notice anything in the video?
Yeah, she kind of slipped off and then she jumped right back on, and then continued
Yes.
with what she was trying to do.
Awesome, exactly, right? So don't always get it right as a parent, but luckily, since I had been studying growth mindset and had learned how I had a fixed mindset, was trying to instill in her the ability to fail, the ability to push through, and not to worry on the outcomes you can't control, but the process, the practice, and continuing to get better. So luckily, it was a hard day for her, but loved her response there. If you go to the next page, this is the next slide, I guess we should say.
1 sec. I think
Yeah.
my apologies. There we go.
No,
This one, right?
yes. So that's 1 year later, right? So after that ability to respond from failure, accept the failure, learn from the failure, 1 year later, she had literally almost all the medals that were there. And I think that was such a great example that trying to continue to use that for not validation, right? But the process, learning to fail and learning to improve from that. So that's a good example and brag on my daughter. All right, so we can go to the next slide. So obviously, so here's the definition. I think the group already nailed it, right? So I'm not going to read the slide to you here, but thinking through the word resilience, just seeing if there's anything specific that kind of resonates with you. If you were to think of your kind of personal resiliency, what do you want that to look like? And, you know, so for me, that I like the word grit that someone put in there earlier, that ability to bounce back, the adaptability, our ability to kind of, you know, roll with the punches. Awesome. Yes. And then hopefully we can get a word. I want to take that word picture and like put it somewhere from the group. All right. So next page. All right. So we talked a little bit about what resiliency is. So let's talk a little bit now about kind of why it matters. So if we go to the next slide, and you can go ahead and just flip through these, right? So I know this is a pretty mature group, so I don't need to go into too much depth here like we've done in other presentations, but I think we can see the world around us is continuing to change rapidly. I don't know how many people are actually like using the chat GPT or some of the other things, but I firmly believe that over the next 10, 15 years, we're going to see more change than we've seen in the last few hundred. And that the rate of change is going to actually be something that's unprecedented that we've had to experience. And so I'd be curious from this group, are you seeing anything in your industries or in your workplaces? Are you seeing anything right now that's being disrupted? If no, that's okay. We will. And we will continue to, huh?
Oh, I just, what I was doing before was in fundraising for nonprofits and politicals. And I was doing acquisition and we, with the slowdown in terms of like Facebook and all that, in terms of advertising, we had to pivot, and artificial intelligence ended up, of course, being part of that solution. So we built a product around that, and yeah, that blew up.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of real world implications that we're going to see rather quickly. The interesting part to me is like how the infrastructure is going to be built. I do think part of it's going to be chaos for a little bit as we learn to kind of adapt and work through some of the changes. So that's part of this whole personal resiliency. Is if we go to the next slide, we can talk. I think this concept, you can go ahead and put both of them up there. Thank you. The concept that really resonated with me was this kind of moving from complicated to complex. And it's taken from the book there by Mark, The Non-Anxious Presence. And the concept resonated with me because a lot of times we think of, like complicated, we're thinking actually more complicated. And so I'll give you an example. So, right, projects are complicated, programs are more complicated. If we were to use sports analogy, because I love sports, right? So complicated could be pick the winner of a football game. We know the teams, we know the coach, we know their players, we know how the team score, we know what the weather is going to be like. So it's complicated, but we can decide that. Now, what might be more complicated is pick the winner of the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season. So it's obviously more challenging. There's going to be more risks, there's more unknowns, but we still know how the game's played, know the rules, know the teams, know the structure. When you start moving into complex, now think of it, instead of trying to pick the winner of a team where you know the rules, it's actually where you could be moving into a situation where the people in the stands can come down and play. The players can switch teams. The value of the points could change throughout the game. The coaches could change, and the game could stop at any time. And so now it would say pick the winner of the game. And so I think our ability to actually understand the complicated to complex, it's a whole new world, whole different ball game, whole different rules, and our ability to kind of plan and structure and things that we're used to is going to be challenged. All right, we go to the next slide. Okay, the other piece that I like about this is adaptability, right? And I love talking about this with the Agile group specifically, And it's funny, like even I start to see it now, even in the agile group, where we sometimes can become a little fixed-minded in how we do things. And I'll give you a specific example, right? So I walk in to a situation where I'm doing some agile coaching, and you get in there and it's like you see things that obviously, we want to do a little bit better, right? So if we don't want the test team separated from the dev team, we want certain things that we know could be better. But the reality is, how do we best help the team in the situation we're in? So maybe we're not at the level in the organization where we could actually fix all of those things. What we could do to help that team is actually help them understand their dependencies, help them build the roadmap, help them add value at where you're at in the organization. And so us continuing to learn to adapt and add value in whatever circumstance and level of the organization we find ourselves, I think is going to be important as we see more things that are going to continue to be disrupted, and finding ways to add business value for our teams and not kind of be stuck in a, I know sometimes we have the never safe, right? Like I'm safe certified, and some people think that's a bad word. I would tell you that I've seen it add value, right? So it's not perfectly agile mindset that we want, and sure, it can be commoditized sometimes too much, but the reality is some of that planning every 3 months and getting teams together, like there's value that can come out of that we might not want to throw away right away. All right, next slide. I think we have another exercise now, right?
Yes, we do. We have another exercise.
right.
Let me go ahead and activate that one.
Okay.
One quick sec. All right. There we go. So you should be able to see that one already. Let me change. There we go. You see it? Yeah, I think so, right?
Yes. All right. So actually, it's going to be a two-part exercise. First part is just kind of what's your current delivery role. And so this will help us as we kind of think through your lens and how you're seeing things. So, maybe it's a project manager, maybe it's a scrum master, whatever your current delivery role is, if you want to put that in as a word puzzle for us. Transformation manager, product manager, agile coach, project manager, product owner. Good. IT project manager. Okay. Project manager. Very good. We'll take a few more in. All right. So the next one then, so that's great. Thank you very much. That kind of helps us know who's answering. Now I'm really intrigued as we, you're starting to see some of this AI, some of this machine learning, some of the things that are coming that are disrupting us. I'm curious, what do you think is going to be kind of automated or eliminated when you look at your daily role, maybe enhanced or improved, and then maybe something that's completely new for the way that you would operate? So I think we have another like a poll for that, right? Or a way where they're going to put in right in the answers. Or are we just going to do that in the chat?
In the chat, yeah.
Okay. Or we can just do it as a discussion maybe, right? So why don't we start with automated and eliminated? Anything in your current role that you think could be automated or eliminated with the rise of kind of AI machine learning?
You can put it in the chat, or you can go off mute.
Yep, either way, whatever you prefer.
So let me see if I understood the question correctly, sir. So what do I think in my current role or job that could be automated, eliminated, or enhanced and improved? Is that
so right now I want to focus on automated and eliminated. In your current role, what do you think within the next year could be automated or eliminated with kind of AI machine learning? Anything?
I think on my end, it might be, sorry.
Okay. Nope, I was just saying, see some stuff coming in.
Yeah, on my end, I think perhaps doing PowerPoints, because now we have Microsoft 365. I just happened to have this conversation with my boss, and there is this co-pilot thing with Microsoft, and it looks like they will be able to create slides with a prompt, and that's it.
Isn't that amazing? I can't. Yeah, I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I like that one too. Sash, timesheets. Yeah. Most written deliverables. Note taking. Oh, we've talked about that, Tracy. I mean, imagine how awesome that would be if it gets really good at like note taking and maybe even helping to structure follow-ups and action items and maybe even adding them into the work that needs to be done. How awesome would that be? Workflow.
Yeah. I'm actually already using Otter, the AI, and does a good job of taking the notes. Does not do such a good job at automating the summaries or the action items. Well, long way to go on that one.
No, that's great. But yeah, I do think like I think that we're hitting on the head where I do see a lot of the administrative stuff, right? That we spend time on can hopefully I see it as a good thing, right? It can make us more efficient and able to work on some of the other things. And I guess part of these are probably more of a mix, right? Of some of the stuff that'll be completely eliminated and then some of the stuff that'll be enhanced. Like I would say our meetings is probably enhanced, that we would still kind of be working through those and structuring them. But yeah, the note taking, the follow-ups, things of that nature. And I'm intrigued too, because a lot of us that have, we work through this stuff, we know that it's still data, right? And so you need the good data. And so how these systems and tools are going to get the right data to help make it more efficient, because if it's the wrong data, even if it does a lot of stuff, it's not going to help us. So I'm excited. All right, so what do we think might be new in our current roles? Like, what do we think might be added or new capabilities that we don't have today? Hmm?
More coaches may come in.
Yeah. Tell me more. Computers as coworkers. I've heard that. Like machine customers too, and them doing part of the work and coordinating with them. What do you see happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that, and just like we said before, like all those administrative tasks, I can see just mostly inputting things and having them be distributed, but have a core, like have a central database. I mean, central database or something. So there's a lot of like similar voicing and all that, but also just like how we, oh my gosh, I just lost my thought.
I mean, yeah, that just sounds cool though. I think our efficiency would go up. Anything else for new that we see coming down? You're a link. Tell me more.
So it's kind of what
Body.
Elon Musk is working on, trying to connect the human body to our technology stack, basically. So instead of utilizing our fingers, which are very slow, we can do brain to machine directly. Basically, you skip
Wow.
the interface, right? It's the direct, interface.
Wow. That'd be pretty crazy. Okay. I guess I had thought and heard more about definitely like more talking and having things just kind of, Iron Man it, but yeah, just thinking and having things work is pretty crazy. Awesome. All right. Anything else there that we want to talk about? Yeah, Bader. That's absolutely. No, that's great. Well, thank you again for the participation. I'm, excited, but I do think that there is a there's some potential chaos and some dangers that we're going to have to kind of watch out for and continue to put the right, hopefully, governance and structure as much as we can around. But I am personally very excited about what it can do for us. Yeah. All right, next slide. Okay, so then we've talked about some of this before from me personally. So some resiliency blockers, right? So some things that I've seen that have hampered my ability to be resilient. So you can just kind of throw them all up there, Nelu, at the same time. But they're things that, like, if we're seeking or needing control, it's going to be really hard to kind of be resilient and let go of the things that we need to. Approval, kind of, I've already given you a story of my need for validation and how that ended up. Image, comfort. And so there are things for us to kind of think of when we get to our framework and we start talking about, because we're going to do an interactive session together here. We're going to start working out some of the stuff and just writing down. And I think these are some of the things that kind of get in our way that can, if we can help put them aside, will make us more resilient in the future. So to that end, if we go to the next slide. So just give you a couple personal examples so that we can, as we get into this next exercise, help you know what I'm thinking about. So first one is control, right? And so I personally learned my need for control when I started having like anxiety and panic attacks many years ago. And it started with things like driving on the highway, started having a hard time driving like on bridges and over overpasses. And it was not a fun time of like this need to feel in control and feeling like I wasn't able to do that. It actually came to a head. We had a family trip. We were flying to Alaska, which was a very long flight if you haven't done that. And if you're struggling with anxiety, it wasn't a lot of fun. I was physically sick, just trying to get onto the plane and trying to get there. I tried, taking the medicines, couldn't get off the couch for a week. It was just really struggling with this kind of need and desire for control. And I remember getting out there to Alaska and just honestly like wrestling with God and saying, you know what, like I'm done. If you are who you say you are, you need to show up because I can't do this anymore. And I think what really happened there was learning to release control. And so obviously I believe God showed up for me there. We said theology is important to me, but it was also an exercise in like learning I'm not in control and being able to let that go, which actually the funny part is helps make us more resilient than when we're trying to control things and hold on. So things have gotten much better. So good news is that there's progress, but I also realize now that not in control. Next slide, please. All right, so the next one is image. So good news is, so some of that starts getting better, and then careers really taking off. I'm in a leadership position, working with the executive team, in the know, built multiple, high performing teams. Things are going really, really well. And then layoffs, right? Changes, new executives. And through that process, the team that I had built was actually relocated. And so went from kind of walking around as someone that was, doing well and moving up the organizational chain to kind of now in the hallways, well, how long is the director going to last without a team? And so learning that, I did care about my image, I cared what people thought, and having to truly strive to begin to, focus on values and live those values, even when it didn't feel good, was another thing that's kind of helped. And one of the things that the framework has kind of been born out of. All right, if you go to the next slide. And then I think we talked about this one last time, so I won't go into too much depth, but then, finally feeling good about that, and then kind of get hit with news that I have a tumor and that they actually thought it was cancer that had spread from elsewhere. And so it was a long journey. I won't make that a long story this time, but luckily, it was one of the ones that helped me think through like what really matters in the end. Is God good if bad things happen? What am I really going to care about when I get to the end of this life? And so it was a tough 2 weeks waiting to hear back if it was cancer, but it was also kind of a freeing 2 weeks where you really learn half the stuff, more than half, right? Like majority of the stuff that we care about or worried about really isn't going to be what defines us or what we really care about in the end. And so, spending more time with the family, not getting upset about some of the simple things we get upset about. And I wish I could say that was really easy and, I kept all of that as soon as I got better. But that is the good news. Tumor was removed. It's benign. Things are good. So feel very blessed there. But through these kind of experiences is kind of where this framework has been born for me, is just trying to continue to get more resilient and learn on this journey myself. So if we go to the next slide. So the goal then is of this session, really, hopefully that just helped, get to know me a little bit more, but also structure the need for what we're talking about. Because at the end of the day, I hope that what we're able to do together is work on this for each of us, right? So if you go to how to cultivate it, the next slide. And really this resiliency framework is something that I personally have just been trying to refine for myself. And it has these 5 components, right? And the first one is our identity, right? Our identity is where our value, our worth comes from. And so to me, this is one of the key aspects, is what are we tied to, rooted in, that can't be taken away, that gives us the freedom to really be resilient when some of those things happen in our lives. And then the outside ones, so you have purpose. So lots of books in the back that we can help go deeper into that. There's plenty written on that from a leadership perspective, but really giving us kind of that North Star guiding purpose. And then one of the interesting parts is, I've done this presentation a couple different ways. So obviously today we're talking about personal resiliency. And so identity is definitely one of the key aspects, but the outside, if you will, it applies to our teams. And so that's kind of another section I've taken this framework we're going to talk about and kind of help work with teams to talk about purpose, values, mindsets, and habits. So right now we're doing it at a personal lens, and we're going to try to build this out together. But it's actually something that we can work with and build from a team perspective as well. So then we have values. We'll talk more about that, mindsets, habits. And so all of this together, I think, gives us the ability to try to prepare ourselves for when the disruption comes and be able to bounce back and show grit and do the things we need to do. And so, the next part is just going to show you the how, the why, the what, and defining those, defining the values, who we want to be, what we want to be known for. Mindsets. I mean, mindsets to me is a lot about attitudes and beliefs, our worldviews, how we intentionally cultivate those, what we spend our time kind of watching and doing will help do that. And then the habits. What do we want to do to cultivate and instill the values, mindsets, help us on our purpose? All right, we can jump to the next slide. And again, my goal here is not to talk for the whole time. It's for us to work together. So if we go to the next page, I have a slide, and I don't know what's the best way to get this to the team. Maybe do we put it in the comment section?
Yeah, and we can actually share that right here in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. So my question is the framework your let's see your example, and then the recommended readings, those 3 slides, or just?
No, yeah, you could do that if you want. Yeah, it really, the only one for right now we were working on is the blank one. So this, we'll talk through this one here, which is kind of showing you what the framework is that, like I said, we've been working on. It's identity, who are you? We're going to walk through each one of these: purpose, what's your why, values, mindsets, habits, and co-creating, right? So this is something that I've been working on for me, but the goal would be what can we do to help facilitate this for yourself as well. So we have I think you should have a blank one, Nelu, that doesn't have anything in it that
Yes,
they could
let
just
me go
type.
ahead and,
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, let
And
me
so
go ahead. Sorry.
so no, it's good. Or the next little bit here, what we'll do is we'll actually just kind of walk through these. And again, I know that it's everybody's been working and it's late. And so if you're not in front of a computer, definitely, you can write it on a piece of paper or do it however you need to do it. No judgment zone, but hopefully it will, add value if you're able to do that. All right, so the file has been shared.
Right.
So if we go to the next slide, and you can just go ahead and hit it a couple times, right? So that should be good. So really what I'd like to do now is, again, this is really meant to be a facilitation exercise to help all of us kind of walk through it together. So I'd like to give you a few minutes to think through some of these identity questions for yourself, and take that slide that was just put into the notes and kind of fill it out. And so thinking about what defines you, gives you value and worth. How would you describe yourself apart from occupation or performance? What if taken away would make it feel like life isn't worth living? And what can't be taken away even if you do fail? And so I'd say let's take 2 minutes. And if you have any issues during this time, kind of getting the slide or doing that, feel free to reach out to Nelu and I.
Yes, absolutely. We are also doing a LinkedIn post at the end and with a snapshot. So what that means is that if you have any questions, you can also put it in that post. I'm sure it's gonna be, we can answer the question right there. And I'd like to know if you guys, were you able to download the document? Because if you have not been able to download it, let me know so I can help. Let me know.
All right. So however you can, if you feel free to write it down, we'll give it one more minute and then we'll come back together and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Are we okay to keep going?
Thumbs up or put it in the chat so we know we're not disturbing you. Your creative process right there. Let me know. There's no. Yeah, thumbs up. We have a thumbs up.
All right. All right, we'll take it. We'll keep going.
We'll take that, yeah.
All right. Next one. Next slide then. All right, so purpose, right? So we'll take another minute and a half here. I know we're obviously, we're not going to solve all of this in one sitting. So the goal is just to give you some of the tools there and the framework and to begin the kind of conversation and thinking. So again, purpose, what do you stand for? Actually, I think some of you probably know Anjali Leon. So she's been a mentor for me. And this was one of the questions she would challenge me with and help me kind of think through that for purpose. What's going to matter to you in the end? What would keep you going when times get hard? And I also think it's important to think about kind of like what are our strengths and our talents that help us understand some of the purpose and things that we're good at. So give us a minute and 30 seconds to work on those on our slide, and then we'll come back together and keep going. Okay. We okay to
Move on, yeah.
keep going?
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go ahead.
Perfect. All right, we got it. All right,
Yeah.
so the next slide. All right, she said I'm filling it. Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, the next slide here was a values overload, right? So I felt like sharing this because this is what was written on my board at work as I was going through that fun transition, right? And as you can see, there's quite a few values there. And while I liked these values, it was hard for me to remember all these values. So when I think about that, if we're working with a team and trying to structure values, I think values are awesome. And I thought it was good to kind of think through this and try to help put it into something tangible in words. But the reality is it was just kind of too much. So if you go to the next slide. So one of the things that helped was Brene Brown in her book, Dare to Lead, had a really good exercise of kind of values facilitation and working to prioritize, if you will, and kind of pick 2 core values. So what I'd say is let's do a little exercise here, because again, we're not going to do it all in one session, but hopefully can get us started. I'd say take 30 seconds. I've just pulled a list of some values here from Google, and just pick two. You know, if you know two values that aren't on this list that you think are core values, then feel free to pick those two and write them down. But I just wanted to put something in front of us to at least give us something to look at and think about. So take 30 seconds and pick, or if you know two core values, go ahead and put those down on your paper. Okay, we got them. Everybody have two? If you go to you hit the next button, it'll take us to. So the other nice thing that you can do with that, which was helpful one more time, is now that you have two core values, you can actually put two supporting values with that. So if you hit the button one more time, it'll show you the steps to do that, right? So just pick two supporting for each of those two, and it just helps. It helps kind of clarify and support those. But picking two core values has been helpful when for myself, even just trying, when you're trying to prioritize, when you're trying to make decisions, when you're trying to help, even if a team to focus on what's really important, some overarching core values can certainly help with that, and then supporting values that can help clarify that. All right, any questions or thoughts on values before? I know we're already at 7 o'clock, so I want to be respectful of time and keep it moving. Any thoughts or questions there?
We do have like 15 more minutes, so it's okay.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the next one. Yeah, I was just sharing an example there of, so like faith is a core value, one of my top core values there, and then something like humility would be something that I'm, working on to try to support that. All right, so if you go to the next one. All right, so beliefs and attitudes, I'm going to impact resiliency. So I'm going to skip a video. I think I might even played it last time I was here, a video I love, but I do just want to convey some of the impact, right, that our beliefs and our attitudes really do have on our performance, on our team, on our resiliency. I've been blessed to be part of some very successful sales teams, and I've seen other sales teams that aren't. And I mean, 90% of the time, it really does come down to attitudes, mindsets, beliefs, the things that are driving the habits and the behaviors that are going to help influence, the outcome. So anything that we can do to try to protect that. I'm not, I'm talking about just, we always have to pretend that we're happy and always positive, but continuing to look for, gratitude, and continuing to believe that what we're pursuing, if we're doing the right things for the right reasons, are going to work, has definitely, I've seen it work so many times, and it's important for teams, right? So I think we've probably all been part of positive cultures, and we've probably all been parts of ones that are not as much fun. And a lot of times it comes down to kind of beliefs and attitudes and how people are looking at things. So if you go to the next slide, we'll skip the video on this one. And this is just talking about mindset, right? So we'll take 2 minutes here and let's think about, what are some of the current beliefs or attitudes that could hurt your resiliency? And what new beliefs or attitudes could improve your ability to recover from failure? And the other thing that I actually liked here too was kind of what kind of words and language is important to you. And for this is also for a team, right? So if you're in the military, the type of language you use is probably different than what you would use in a hospital, right? If you're in different industries, what types of language is important for you as you think about mindset and attitude being positive, right? So if you're like a funeral home director, as an example, the language you use, you still want to be positive, but the reality is it's a different type of positive than in other industries. So take 2 minutes, think through that. Feel free to write some of those kind of, what beliefs and attitudes could help or hurt you. Okay. Any comments or questions there? Are we okay to keep going? All right, we'll jump to the next one.
Oops.
Oh, yeah. All right, so it looks like habits got, yeah, so this one's habits, right? So thinking about what current habits could hurt your ability to recover from failure, what new habits could help you prepare for disruption, and how can you intentionally implement some habit change? And again, I have some good books in the back that, I wish I could say I'd perfected my habits. I haven't yet, but some of those books have helped, from like Atomic Habits. There's ones, Pound the Stone, different things like that are in the back. So we'll take 45 seconds to a minute here and maybe just think about what current habits could hurt your ability to recover and what new ones could help you. Okay. Any comments, questions? Are we good to move into the wrap up? We're almost there. I appreciate everybody hanging in there after a long day at work. So I shared mine here for you for the I've been working on, and again, I think this is personal for yourself. So just giving you a sample of what mine looks like, and I encourage kind of the next steps would be to continue to work this out for yourself and prepare for this coming disruption that we're going to see. All right, we can jump to the next slide. All right, so the last thought that I want to leave us with, so we talked about how personal resiliency does help us turn disruption into opportunity. But the other part that I think is important for us to remember is that personal resiliency doesn't mean that it's always going to succeed, right? It just means that we're going to be okay even when we don't. And so being okay with failure, learning to experiment and continue to grow, and picking ourselves up and moving forward even when it doesn't succeed, because this doesn't guarantee you that all of a sudden everything's going to go your way. All right, next slide. So what's next? Again, we said please continue to create your resiliency blueprint. You can also, like I said, use this with your team if you wanted to help kind of align on those values and habits and mindsets at a team level. I think that's super helpful. Ultimately, working to build and define the culture and align on some of that stuff together. Certainly, this is a journey that I've been on, trying to work on this for myself. So I'd love to hear your feedback and ways that it could be more impactful and helpful. If we go to the next slide. And another way to share your feedback is please feel free to reach out and connect. So there is, we'll leave that on there for a couple seconds for anybody who's interested in connecting. Please do so.